I'm Gaz, and this is the big 10,000 subscriber 7-year anniversary YouTube Q&A extravaganza video, I guess. This is also my headset, because I don't have an actual microphone. So hopefully I won't be in the way too much. Um, so yeah, it's been almost 7 years that I've been doing Let's Playing, and it's taken me that long to get 10,000 subscribers, a bit longer than most, but also a lot more subscribers than many YouTubers, small YouTubers, get a chance to have. So, I'm actually pretty pleased with the way the channel has gone. The fact that some of my videos are actually definitive videos for certain games, such as Zeus, or I get crazy amounts of views on some of my videos just out of the blue. I don't know. It's all been very, very interesting, especially for a channel like mine, where I don't really participate the same way that a lot of other Let's Players do. As far as the amount of time and effort I put into my videos, the interaction with you guys, it's very much just been a hobby for me, something to do in my free time because I've got nothing else, frankly. But I do appreciate that there is sort of a silent fan base that I apparently have, that even though it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on my channel, just the fact that I get anywhere from 70 to 90,000 views a month means that some of you are actually enjoying my content. So that's what makes it worthwhile. And so thank you for following me for however long it's been. If it's been the whole 7 years, that's amazing, because I've been pretty obscure. I don't know. I guess I've never really thought of this as being sort of a career-worthy thing. I've never been too bothered about, oh, I got to play this to get the views. Never really getting in on the streaming and all that. Again, it's just been something I've done in my free time. That may be something I want to look at going on forward. Maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I don't know. This has been very therapeutic for me to be able to do this, and yeah, I plan to keep doing it for some time. I guess we can go ahead and get started with the Q&A section of this video, and some of those questions are basically about me. How did I start the channel and all that stuff? How did I come up with the name Gaz? So I guess we'll just go ahead and start prior to that with sort of a Gaz origin story. So, 2008 is when I graduated from university, and I didn't really have a plan. I mean, I had a plan up until then, but right after graduation, I just kind of figured that things would sort of fall into place, that my friends would stick around, we'd live together for a while, work, make some money, and then we'd go off and be adults. It didn't really happen that way, and in particular, for those of you that are old enough, and I can't believe I have to think like that because I am significantly older than many of my viewers. When I graduated, some of you were like 10. For those of you who remember, 2008 was when the global economy tanked, and that really caused a lot of havoc in the jobs market and affected me deeply because it was just impossible for me to find work. I went to school for media arts, which was basically graphic design, video editing, web design. It was a smattering of everything, which was good and bad because it was sort of a jack-of-all-trades thing where there wasn't really mastery in anything. I, in particular, ever since I was a little kid, have always been sort of an illustrator, and when I was taking classes, I was really into animation. And web design was not really on my radar at that time because at that time it was separate. Now graphic design and web design are pretty much the same thing, and that's just because of apps and mobile technology and all that stuff. But prior to that, it was something separate. And so after graduating, I struggled to find work as a graphic designer. I had to do some freelancing, which is starvation, basically. And then that just wasn't enough. I wasn't talented enough, or I didn't have enough experience. There was one job that I applied to for a sign company, just looking for a graphic designer, And I went in there, applied, handed the guy my resume, and as I was walking out, he just threw it away. I mean, literally. Because at that time, it was an employer's market. Like, so many people were out of work, you could just pick whoever you wanted, and boy, are people picky. They were all looking for unicorns who could do everything with no training from day one. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. So I had to expand my horizons as to what I was doing. I taught myself web design, and prior to that, I it's kind of a funny story. As the iPhone came out and all the smartphones and the mobile applications started ramping up and becoming a thing, I was one of those people who did not ever think that the phone was going to be a gaming platform. I really didn't. I didn't think that there was enough that you could do with it. The capabilities were going to be too low. And so I kind of ignored it. But as it became a thing, I tried to find a way to get into it. Luckily for me, because I don't have really a programming background, I can understand it, and I've sort of learned a little bit of the basics. I taught myself Flash ActionScript and made some Flash games. But like getting really into the programming, that just wasn't my thing. And fortunately, at the time, mobile gaming was really coming online, and there were alternatives for knowing programming. One of which, fortunate for me, was that Flash, it's like CS4, I want to say, started introducing the ability to make applications through Flash, and I did. I actually do have a few apps out there. They're not that great, but I made them, and I kind of thought that that's where I was maybe going to go. Didn't really turn out that way, which is unfortunate because game design has actually been a part of my life. Gaming in general has been a part of my life ever since I was a little kid. I actually, years ago, I was looking through old papers from when I was a kid, like elementary school, and there are papers on, like, what do you want to be when you grow up and all that stuff. And I actually said I wanted to make games, and I think that's because I was a Nintendo kid at the time, and that was the thing. So that's always been a part of my personal culture and something I've wanted to do, and not just video games, but board games and card games. The 90s was a huge time for card games, and not just Magic the Gathering. I mean, it was anything that you could slap an IP on could become a card game, and I really was into that, mostly as collecting them because I never had anyone to play with. But I don't know, I have notebooks where there's half designs of ideas for games that I've always made. So as I was struggling to get into a career through graphic design and web design and all that, I tried to get into game development and app design, and that's kind of where the Game Maker Studio and all these other third-party engines and game-making software programs sort of came into what I wanted to branch off the Gaz Plays channel from. And we're getting a little bit ahead here, but so for those of you that don't know, I do have a secondary channel that I haven't touched in like 3 years called Gaz Works, where I've done Game Maker tutorials, which I thought were pretty decent, but they're not nearly as popular as I was hoping they were going to be. But so anyway, that's just something I wanted to try and get into. And so I was branching out, trying to find freelance work, trying to get into app design, game design, and it just wasn't working. It wasn't working to the point that I was living at home with my parents. I literally became the 30-year-old man living at home with his parents. We didn't have a basement, so that was good. But yeah, it was not good. And I was at a point in my life where I gave up. I just gave up. And what kind of helped me get through a lot of it was that I was able to watch Let's Plays, YouTube. Back in college, I started watching mostly like walkthrough and or speed runs. Actually, when Let's Playing first started, I was not a fan. I hated commentary on these videos. I just wanted to watch a game played, mostly because either I couldn't afford the game or it wasn't really a game I would play, but I was interested in it. But then I sort of caught on board because, back then the commentary was just lackluster. It wasn't really all that great. But then I found a few people who were actually entertaining to watch, and I got right in at the point where Let's Playing sort of became a form of entertainment, a show. It was less about the game now and more about the personality you were watching play it. I guess one of the first, and there were more prior to this, but one of the first that I really latched on to and subscribed to was Jeff Major, or 1F Jeff. I don't think he does videos anymore, unfortunately, but his channel was one that I really caught on to and stuck with, and that his channel and several others like Deceased Crab, I think Get Daved was a little bit around that time. Anyway, this is where it started to formulate in my head that, well, I'm unemployed, I'm doing nothing with my life, I just play video games, maybe I could do Let's Playing. And I didn't do it for a few years after, but what really kicked me into it was when Jeff was having a contest on his channel to do an intro video for his channel. Because YouTube operated differently back then, and you could customize your channel and stuff like that. Anyway, with my background in video editing, I did his intro video, and it won the contest because it was better. I mean, it was. I'm sorry, but I did it professionally, and so I kind of had an advantage there. But so that gave me early recognition. Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't have a channel. I mean, I did. I think my very first Let's Play was not actually Zeus. That was my first popular one. That's what really put me on the map. But my first actual Let's Play was a Sims 3 series. Sims 3 series on a custom map that I made called Monopolville, which was kind of supposed to be based on Monopoly. It didn't really have a story, not like the Sunlit Tides one, but I sort of incorporated what happened in that Let's Play into the Sunlit Tides series as part of its backstory. And that's, if you watch Sunlit Tides in the first episode where I go through this backstory, you have no idea what it's about. It's about the Monopolville Let's Play and the Sims 2 Castaways. So there is actually an arc through that series. And it was going to be something I was going to continue on. I had an idea a long time ago to do another extended long play narrated series of The Sims. It was going to be Sims 3 Sim City. I was actually going to, because there were so many expansions for that game, I was actually going to do a through time Let's Play of all of the city building up, because there was like the Western expansion, so I could have this little frontier town that would eventually build up into the future expansions. Because what was it? It wasn't Cities of Tomorrow, but it was something like that, where it was futuristic buildings and jetpacks and all this stuff. And so it was going to be sort of an arc that went through, and then Gaz was going to make a cameo at some point in there. But given how long the narrated Let's Play took, and editing and all that, I just didn't have the time to continue on with that. But again, that was a little bit further down the road. So that's kind of where I was at. I was starting with that channel, with the Sims 3 Let's Play, and the first subscribers and viewers that I got came from Jeff and that video, and just sort of I never really got into that community that kind of he was a part of, the Bobo the Vulture, the Pumpkin, Grimmeth, Lethal Feline, that group. I was sort of on the periphery of them. I'd comment on a few videos, but I was never part of their community. I sort of kind of just went my own direction, and I've been doing that pretty much the entire history of this channel. This channel has really mostly just been for me. It started sort of as me playing games that I loved and just from my past. Zeus, for example, and the Pharaoh and the Emperor. The reason I've been asked before in comments, why do I play so many old games? And actually, some of the comments for my Q&A video are the same thing. Why do I play irrelevant games? And it's mostly just because I started the channel playing what I wanted to play. I wanted to play games from my past and just share them, and that's why I think I'm a little bit more competent in some of those older videos than maybe the newer ones. But I also kind of got a niche. I've gotten away from this, but for a while, the first few years of this channel, I played a lot of obscure games, like a lot of games that no one has ever heard of. Um, and that's been good and bad, but yeah, I've mostly gotten away from that just because I've wanted to play new games, but I haven't been able to. I had a computer that I built in college that followed me up until just a couple of years ago when I built this one. And a lot of the games that I've played have just been because of limitations. Um, and that's kind of affected the quality of the videos too. Obviously, this is now getting my videos have gotten better over the years, mostly because I've been recording in 60 FPS. My older computers could only handle 30 FPS, and God, I remember so bad. The internet at home was so bad, it would take a 30-minute video about 3 hours to upload overnight when no one else was on the internet. Um, and it was only like a 300 megabyte video. Like I had to find a software, which was BB Flashback is what I used to use. And I still really like that software because it has built-in editing, which is amazing. And it's actually a pretty decent editor too. But so I was using that and just trying to condense my videos as much as possible so that I could upload them. I was only able to upload once every night as opposed to what I do now, which is just batch upload, and it's gotten a lot better. But that old computer is also why I just couldn't do new games. I had to play the old games because that's all I could play. I mean, God, I don't even remember how many years. I was still using Windows XP. I think I recorded the Zeus Let's Play on a Windows XP computer. And then I didn't get Windows 7 until much later when my brother gave me his computer, which was still a few years old. It's only been literally like, I think I built this computer 2 years ago, 2 summers ago. So it's only been recently that I've been able to even do new games, and new for my channel is SimCity in 2013. But it's helped me get, I think, a little bit faster growth on my channel, just because I've been able to do some of those newer videos. But at the same time, I think that being sort of that niche Let's Player who did sort of obscure games kind of helped me too, because I wasn't doing the same things that everyone else was. So that was nice. And like I said, I wasn't out there to get the most views. I wasn't out there to be a 1 million subscriber Let's Player. I was just having fun, and it kind of was fun in that I was doing content that people just enjoyed watching. And it's been kind of satisfying, I guess, that, but as I said, for me at least, Let's Playing is not about the games. It's about the personality playing the game. And it's been satisfying for me that for many of you, I have become one of those personalities. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, especially even I will just watch Let's Plays. That's kind of what I do now in my spare time. So there's like 10 people you watch, but maybe more than that. But to be one of those 10 or even 100 or whatever, that maybe you only watch my videos every couple weeks or once a month when I start a new game or something. Still, to be all the content that's out there and the limited amount of time we have these days, to be able to be someone that you want to spend half an hour or an hour or whatever watching, to use some of your time, I appreciate that a lot. Because I've said before in previous videos that I'm not the most exciting, and I don't try to be. I don't go out of my way to be goofy or do silly thumbnails. Oh my God, this reminds me. I don't watch like Markiplier or any of the big guys. I don't. But for some reason there was a video suggested thumbnail, and I clicked on one of his videos. I've never watched the guy before, but it was like a volcano game. I don't remember. It's probably still in the suggested listings. You can probably find it. But I scrubbed through his video, just click through at a few points just because I didn't want to sit and watch the whole thing. And there's a point in the game where something happens on screen, some little cinematic, and he's just got this look of shock, just like, like open mouth, wide eye, just like, and he's seriously sitting there for like 3 minutes of the video. Now, I don't believe that's an honest reaction because how infantile is that, you know? But that's his persona, I guess. I don't watch PewDiePie. I don't watch any of that. I'm sure some people have cultivated those kinds of reactionary personas, and that's what people watch them for. I will never be that guy. I don't do that. I don't have patience for that shit, first of all. But, you know, it's just like, that is an entertainment persona. You know, the overreactions, the crazy faces on the thumbnails, all that stuff is meant to get you to click because it's entertainment for children. But yeah, I'll just never do that. And I guess in a way that's kind of become my thing because I get a ton of comments on just being sort of the calm Let's Player, which is nice for some of you, I guess. The smooth, delicious voice of YouTube that I have. It's worked for me, and it's become my thing. And that's been good that I've been able to ride that a little bit, and that it's helped me to stand out a little bit more from some. Not as much as others, for sure, but I don't know. I guess it's become my shtick, so it's helped. So anyway, getting back on track, after I started doing Let's Playing, it took several years, but I finally got lucky, and a friend living, well, here, told me about an apartment that had opened up, and that it was super cheap, and I could totally afford it, and I was just like, let's go. So I moved here, struggled a little bit, found a job that was not at all what I wanted to do. It's actually pretty interesting. The job that I currently work at is in an auto parts distributing warehouse. And I started out as a driver just because I needed a job, needed some money. And interestingly, the company needed someone to redo their website. So I was perfectly situated to get in on this, and then that's what I do. So that makes the money, and then I can come back here and just play video games. And that's kind of been my life for the past 4 years, I guess. Just progressively things are getting better, or have gotten better. I've been able to upgrade my computing setup. I've done a ton of videos. I have got over 100 individual Let's Plays, each with several dozen episodes in them, and that's not counting the Let's Quickly Play series that I do have. That's another comment that I've gotten for the Q&A about doing just little tiny one-off videos. I have done that, actually. There's an entire series of that, of, I want to say 4 dozen, almost 50 different little quickly plays. That might be an exaggeration, I don't know, but it's a lot. I've done a lot of content. Like 2,000 overall videos, more than 2,000 overall videos. So I've got a lot of content here, 7 years of content, and I always get a kick then out of people who comment on certain videos that say, you know, I should play something else, or this is boring, or whatever. It's like, if you can't find something to watch on my channel, I can't help you. But at the same token, 10,000 subscribers over 7 years with that much content, I really have not been as competitive as other channels. Again, that hasn't really bothered me. It's gotten a little bit more, I guess, sort of important, just when I started being a partner. As I mentioned in the video about losing my partnership recently, I started out with TGN, which was not a very good network. It was a pretty recent network at the time that I joined. I got out of that, and then I joined Maker Studios, one of the sub levels. So I worked for Disney for a year and a half. Got kicked out of them, and then was there another one in between? No, I don't think there was. And then I joined up with Curse Gaming, which was actually a pretty good one, until it also kicked me out for pretty much the same reason that Maker did. YouTube guidelines and just trying to slim down to the channels that made money, which is kind of where I'm at now. I have no network and no channel, and well, I have a channel. No monetary income for my channel, which has never really been what this is about for me, and it's still not. I have lately I've been averaging about $50-$60 a month, which is not definitely not enough to make a living on, but it has paid for a few bills, so it's been nice to have. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about this as to my plans for the future, but right now that's kind of a big deal for me to try and get that all back on. Not so much for the money, but the copyright, because now that is rabid out there. The minute you've got a video, someone thinks they can make money on it, they'll put their name on it, and it's bad. It's really bad. And it's been really disheartening, and I think that is what's caused a lot of the Let's Players that I started with, sort of my peer group, if you will, started watching them, and now they don't do it anymore, just because they've been fed up, they've moved on to live streaming. Again, we'll maybe talk more about that in future plans. But, so yeah, that's kind of been the history of my channel. As far as where Gaz came from, that I don't know. Gaz started out, the name, started out as Gaz Bad, and I'm not really quite sure where that started. I want to say it maybe started from when I played World of Warcraft. I think it's also the name of an orc from Warhammer. I don't know. Whatever the case, it became just sort of my internet thing, starting up the email with it. And actually, I used it when I was in university as sort of my fake studio name to just slap on my projects and whatnot, Gazbad Studios and all that stuff. And that's actually where Gaz Works also came from. The logo, the whole thing of Gaz Works was just an offshoot of that, and it was a logo design that I'd made for class, and years later I've used it. So that's kind of where that started, and then Gaz Bad just became Gaz, and then that turned into Gaz Plays for my Let's Plays channel, and that's just where it is. As you can see, I am very white and American, so it's not obviously my real name. But yeah, I don't know. It was a silly little name that I just kind of gone with and run with, and it's a nice one-syllable thing that is easy to remember, so it works. Okay, well, so I guess now we can kind of get into the actual questions, such as we have left. So let's get started on that. So, questions about what I will be doing in the future, games that I might come back to, one being Caves of Qud. I had said at the end of that series that I would come back to it because I had wanted to. I really liked the game. I have not gone back to it for a number of reasons, mostly because I want to try new games, but that game now is going through, or has gone for several years, I mean ever since the end of that series, that it's going through this update thing where literally every couple of days there's an update, and some of it's just little bug fixes, whatever, but a lot of it has been content changes. So much so now that I think I would completely have to relearn the game if I started it over, and that would take time, and I don't do it so much anymore. I kind of jump into my games now and do little blind Let's Plays, but I used to actually play the game for a while to get an idea of how it played and to be good at it, and then did the series on it. So I'd kind of want to do that if I was going to jump back into Caves of Qud. And again, I'm not so interested anymore. So I might someday, I don't know if I will. Other series that I plan on doing, I've still got dangling ones that are probably just going to be lost Let's Plays. Pokemon Conquest will probably never be done. Harvest Moon, I'd wanted to finish that, but there was not really that much interest in it anyway, so that'll probably go to the side. Shadowgate, the infamous series that will never be finished, probably. I doubt I will ever return to anything that, if it didn't get finished, it's not going to get finished, just because I want to move forward, and especially my future plans that we'll talk about here a little bit later. I just don't see myself doing that. Jagged Alliance, Fallout 2... Role-playing games have not done very well just in general, and certainly not on my channel. I would love to do Fallout 2, but I don't know. I don't know. It's another long series that there might be little reward for doing, especially if I don't do two Let's Plays, and I don't think I'm gonna. I think we're gonna go back down to the one series at a time. Um, so suggestions of like Total Warhammer, Jagged Alliance, some other strategy games. Honestly, unless it catches my attention, probably not. I'm a fan of Warhammer. Total Warhammer was something I had wanted to do. So was the second Total War, the Japan one. What was it actually called? Because the very first game was just called Total War, Shogun. That's what it was. Shogun 2. I'd wanted to play that because I was a huge fan of Shogun 1, and ever since I was a teenager, Japanese culture has been an interest of mine. Probably won't do that. So as far as those kinds of games, I can't really say that I will. City building has sort of been the focus of this channel, and I haven't always done city building games, and sometimes departing from that has actually been useful. It's been good. But I can't really, I mean, honestly, I don't know what I'm going to play next. But probably not one of those games, not a long strategy game. And there are suggestions about doing sort of like small, sort of instructional videos. I have thought about that, as well as like ASMR videos. I think I mentioned a few times I wanted to do one for Lara Croft Go, which is a very atmospheric game, pretty simple. Not really much more complicated than any other mobile game, and it would be something that I could do sort of a walkthrough for. And you wouldn't really be watching it for the walkthrough; you'd be watching it for just the little niche ASMR bit. I don't know. I've got ideas that have been sitting here for years that I've just never gotten around to. As I said, the big Sim 3 series that I wanted to do, that'll probably never get done. I just don't have the time to do that. And one series that has been on the back burner probably for 3 years now has been a Civilization 5 series, a narrated one. Unlike my Sunlit Tide series, which took forever because I just had to record and then edit, and there were gaps within that series of weeks and sometimes a couple months. And for a 5-minute video, that's aggravating as a viewer. And so if I was going to do this Civilization series, I'd want it all out. And I've got all the footage, it's just been taking forever because I have to write a script, and then I've got to edit, and I'm going to do all this stuff. And I keep promising it'll get done, and I think it will because I've got the footage, and it would be a waste if I didn't use it. But I, again, can't guarantee when that'll ever get done. But as far as like the short videos, maybe we'll do more Let's Quickly plays. So we'll see about that. And then I guess we'll just finish off that section with questions about games that I would make, or have I ever considered making games? And obviously the answer is yes. I have made a few, and I've got ideas for several more. And this kind of, I guess we'll just kind of go into future plans for me and the channel, because this is sort of where I want to get back into game design and game development. And I've got a whole list of ideas, just ideas, not fully fleshed out or anything, that I've had of just like, yeah, I could make that really quick, I could do this. But there have been three games that I really want to make. And they wouldn't be overly complicated. One would be a city building game, and what's holding me back there is basically finding or creating an engine for the isometric city building, because I would make it sort of old school. I wouldn't make it a 3D game, even though that might be easier. And then a big trading game, which would be more along the lines of, say, the Guild 2, where it would be trading, but then there'd be a little bit more of a life simulation involved. And the third one, I can't remember offhand. But yeah, so I do have a few games in mind that I would like to do. And if I ever got into The Sims 3 and built that city, I mean, the thing about The Sims now is that that community's kind of moved on. I'm sure there is still a dedicated Sims 3 community, much the way there is The Sims 2. But at the end of Monopolville, several years ago, that just moved on a bit from anyone possibly being interested in me ever doing that. And again, I may never get around to doing that anyway, so let's not get our hopes up about that. So, moving on to future ideas for the channel. So, I've made that video discussing the fact that I got dropped by my partnership, and now I'm kind of floating as far as what I want to do with that. So first things first, I need to try and find how I can do something with this channel and still maintain control of my content. I still don't know if I can partner directly with YouTube. I'm going to have to do a lot of research into seeing what everyone else is doing and how people that have given up on their partnerships are still doing stuff. I think a large part of that is that many people have moved on to streaming, and that's something I've always kind of shied away from, mostly because when I record stuff, it's just because I can record 3-4 episodes in a batch, and then it's done, and then I can get on with my life. And I can record a bunch of stuff, like a week's worth of content I can record on a Saturday, and then I can go do other things. It's not like when I started where it's every night and oh my god, this is consuming my life because I've got nothing else. So streaming, that's a lot of time. I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything anyway, but it's a lot of time to dedicate to that. But it's something I'm considering, and I don't know that it would be like a regular thing, like an every week thing, but so here's my idea for what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm doing full series, and that's great if you want to watch what I'm doing. But it's also time-consuming for me, and it kind of became a problem with these last two series, BattleTech and SimCity, because I started out playing BattleTech and loving it. I loved it so much, I recorded 2 weeks worth, the first batch. And it was getting to a point where I ran out of hard drive space, but also like I was far ahead of the viewership, and so I wanted to kind of just hold off a little bit before doing future episodes, especially since there were comments for advice and on all that stuff. So when I do that, when I record a week's worth of episodes ahead of time, that's another week I have to wait to play the game. And that's kind of been a little bit of a stumbling block for my motivation, because, when it's 60 episodes, that's 2 months that I'm playing a game. That's a long time. And the viewership drops off. Again, I'm not really so concerned about that, but it does show that, yeah, there's a lack of interest, and probably attributes to why my channel is so slow to grow, because it'll take me 2 months before there's a new game on this channel, because I don't do 3 or 5 series or whatever, and I'm not like other Let's Players who, the interest is fallen off, so we're just going to drop the series completely and move over to another one. Again, I just play the game because I like to play the game, but it's also been bad for me because I have a massive backlog of games, and I'll never get through it. And I think that a lot of those games are games that I don't necessarily want to do a full series on. That's why they're still in my library and all that. So here's my new idea for what I think I might want to do with the channel. First of all, let me just say, and let's just get this out of the way now, that I've just ended both my series. There's nothing new for the channel right now, and this whole partnership thing has kind of put things up in the air a little bit. So I think now's a good time for me to take a break from the channel for a while, take one of my extended vacations that I do every now and then, and just get things sorted and maybe do things like finish my Civ series. I don't want to make any promises, but it'll give me a chance to just kind of take a breather. I don't have to worry about stuff being recorded every night or getting uploaded or whatever. When I come back, I'm thinking about changing the formats of how I'm doing the series. I think I'd mentioned in the previous series before the SimCity and the BattleTech that I wanted to kind of take things down to like 20 episodes at most, instead of the 40 to 60 that I do. I do want to make shorter series, and I think one way I'm going to do that is sort of by starting to do 6-packs. Instead of doing a full series, I would do maybe like 3 hours worth of content, which would be about 6 episodes. And my thought for this is that it would start on Saturday, because that's when viewership is the strongest. So put it out on a Saturday, everyone starts watching it, which would get me, all the way around to Friday. And then Friday night, we would do something like either a Let's Quickly Play or maybe stream. Maybe do a Friday night stream. And then that would be kind of how I do most of my series, mostly to clear out the backlog. Not for everything, obviously. If it's a game that I really want to play, I would do a full series of it. But just kind of to do more than a first impressions video, but less than a full series, because about 6 episodes is the attention span, I think, of a lot of people. And especially for a game that might not be that good, or a game that I'm just playing to try out. So I want to do that as a way to attempt to push through some of these series that I've been hanging on to and just haven't really had the motivation to go forward with. A lot of those games, some of you have actually gone so far as to either donate to me or to give me games, which I greatly appreciate. That's really awesome. BattleTech was one of those games, and I'd really wanted to play that, so that was awesome. But there have been other games in my library. Mark of the Ninja, for example, that's one that comes to mind, was given to me years ago. And I tried it out for a little bit, and I kind of liked it, but I didn't think I wanted to do a full series on it. I think that would be a perfect game for the 6-pack idea. So I think I'll start looking at doing that, and it will allow me basically to record, on a Saturday, and then put out all those episodes for that week, so that by the next one I've got the next 6-pack ready to go or whatever. As far as streaming, I don't know. Because it's in a way it's sort of the same thing as spending 3 hours recording a week's worth of episodes, but at the same time it's not, because that's not always the case. Sometimes I'll only record like 2 episodes, just so I have one for the next night, and then I can go on down that way. Or it's variable, and that's allowed me to have a lot of flexibility in what I'm doing, because I don't always just have to sit here and dedicate my non-life to recording all the time. And since I kind of want to get away from this and try to do a little bit more with my life, because there's not much going on right now, I think that would be good if I could just kind of focus on that video and not necessarily dedicate not any time, but as much time to, say, streaming, especially since streaming is something that I have no experience in, and it's something I'd have to learn from the ground up, which I could do. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I should get into it and just see what it's about, even if it's just an irregular stream. And I guess the trade-off is that I could always upload those to YouTube as well, so there's double the content. But I don't know what I'd play, first of all. And one thing that has been suggested in the past is sort of the collaborative or just playing online. That's just never really been my thing. I guess maybe, depending on what it is, it could go that way. It would definitely be a little bit more interactive with the viewers and the channel than it has been, and I don't know, maybe that would help me grow a little bit more. And to that end, sort of piggybacking a lot of the comments about streaming has also been donations. For those that don't know, I do have a PayPal link on my channel if you want to donate, and some of you have, and I appreciate that. Some of you have donated a lot. I've kind of always been on the fence about starting a Patreon, because I didn't really want to feel like I was begging for more. I've already got ads on my video, or I did have ads on my videos that you had to watch, And so I didn't want to be like, constantly bombarding you with, buy my merch that is non-existent, or, help me out by putting more money on this. And as far as I know, for Patreon, there's a little bit more of a dedication to it. Like if people are paying you, they're paying you for something. Like I think it's from what I've seen, there's that level of you donate so much, and then I make promises, which I don't really want to do too much of. But I don't know. I guess there's been enough interest in it that I'd be foolish not to do that, not to take advantage of you. But yeah, so maybe I think when I come back, there's going to be a few changes to the channel, a little bit about how I do things, and then maybe we'll look into streaming and the donation tree there if I can't make another partnership work. So not huge changes, but I feel kind of pushes me a little bit more towards mainstream. I don't know that that's necessarily something I've wanted to do, but maybe that's what I'm going to have to do, just because, unfortunately, it's sort of out of my hands as to how this whole online content creation thing works now. It's a much different atmosphere than back when Deceased Crab and Nintendo Capri Sun were starting Let's Playing. I mean, you can't do as much as you used to be able to, and it's all so corporate now. So I guess I applaud, but I also question these guys that do this for a living, and that they have to watch so many trends and their analytics, and they've got to make decisions about, well, am I going to do this because I'm not making money? And like, I am so glad I don't have to worry about that. Honestly, having a day job is a very comforting thing. But yeah, since YouTube is kind of my life at the moment, and really that's all I've got to do every day. Maybe I'll kind of get into it a little bit more. Again, I kind of do want to separate it a little bit, though. I kind of want to ramp it down. This is a very awkward time, hitting these milestones and then being like, well, I'm kind of done. I'm not, because I'll probably never stop playing games, and I may as well be doing it for entertainment. But yeah, I think I want to get more into game design, game development. Maybe go back to my Gazworks channel and start doing tutorials again. I mean, they're all irrelevant now and obsolete because Game Maker has put out a new version, and there's now everyone does things in Unity and all these other engines. It's a little bit different landscape than trying to do it yourself. But I think that's where I want to go. I want to have a little bit more involvement in that, even if it's just making a few games. I just want to try it and do something more than just be a 34-year-old man coming home from work every day to record videos for the internet. But I don't know. I think that streamlining the channel a little bit, going down to this six-pack idea, might be worth trying for just a little bit. And if it doesn't work, or if I go through too much and there's more demand for an actual series, we'll get back into that. So fortunately, my channel is flexible enough that I have the privilege and the ability to do that. So that's pretty nice. So, with that, I suppose it's time to end this one here. Thanks for sticking it out if you have. As always, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate the fact that, as I said, I can be a little part of your time every day. Even though we don't really have that interaction, as someone who watches Let's Players myself, there is that little bit of comfort of familiarity. And, even though I don't really say much to you guys, I do read comments most of the time. Usually it's a little bit too late because I batch record, but I feel like maybe we could expand this channel a little bit better. And maybe streaming is one way to do that, that direct chat. And I don't know, as soon as I figure out how to make that work and make that a thing, maybe we'll grow the channel a little bit better. But yeah, I hope that I can continue to provide some entertainment. I'm always kind of surprised by some of the comments that I get. And for some of you that have commented that watching my videos has sort of helped you when you needed something calming or just a distraction or whatever, I can totally relate to that because, as I said, I went through a period of my life where I just sat around and watched Let's Plays and decided to do it myself. And so I can relate to not having great things going on, and you just need a little bit of something, a voice in your ear. So it's been a journey so far. I can't believe it's been 7 years. It's been a large part of my life that, man, this is not something I ever foresaw for myself, that's for sure. But yeah, so thanks for watching. I hope you continue to enjoy. I hope I can continue to entertain you, and we can find some pretty decent games and not so decent games, and we can have a little bit of fun. So I'll end this one here. I'll see you next time.